Hello, what is going on, guys? I am NumbNexus, bringing you guys a very interesting video here today. We got a top 5 best Gen 1 mods. I'm very excited to be bringing you this video because I've been research on Gen 1 for the past week and a half, and this game is fucking broken. Like, I'm gonna do a separate video just saying how broken this game is, you know? But I figured I'd compromise 5 mods who I thought were just absolutely overpowered within the meta of Gen 1, and yes, there was a meta of Gen 1. It existed. You actually can still, to this date, play the meta on Gen 1 on Showdown. So, the meta is very, like, mechanically dysfunctional, so no one really plays it. I think people just play it for the lulz and some shit like that. But otherwise, we're going to be talking about the top 5 from what I think the best mods were in Generation 1. If you guys are enjoying, by all means, let me know by hitting that like button down below. Unsquared now is a shirt that I have going online. It should be over here in about like 2 weeks. So if you want to cop one, you can. SQUEESQUAD shirts limited time. Subscribe if you have not. And also, again, this is my own opinion. If you disagree and you thought that something else should have been on this list, number one, do your research, because you're probably thinking, oh, well, Dragonite has to be number 1. So do your research, number 1. Number 2, then come back and then drop your opinion. So it's a mechanically dysfunctional meta it was. But with that, let's get right into the video. Number 5 on this guy is going to have to be Chauncey. Now, Chauncey, very annoying Pokemon to deal with. It was not fun to deal with at all. From my experiences, this Pokemon is stupid fat. Like, fatter than it is now. Essentially, here's how it works, right? It was not, I wouldn't say fatter than it is now, but here's how it works, right? Its stats necessarily stayed the same, like nothing drastically really changed outside of its obvious poor special attack stat once the two split apart. But here's the annoying thing about it. Chauncey actually can fight when it comes to Generation 1. There's a special attack stat of 105. Since they're all in one stat special, it's the same thing as the defenses. Having a whopping 250 HP for a stat, this thing was very difficult to deal with and very difficult to kill. That's the real question here, is to kill. It was very annoying to deal with. You'd have to get something devastating to kill it on the physical side. Something like Rhydon, Golem, Toros, things like that are real things that really could just decimate Chauncey. But if you have a special attacker or someone that can abuse the special stat, and you wanted to try and sweep a team with just that, that's a fat chance. Because Chauncey, what is it? It walls Alakazam, Zapdos, Gengar, Starmie, Jolteon. It walls all of these Pokemon that are very high in a special stat that it just can't do anything to. And not to mention as well, it's very annoying when it comes to the whole para thing, paralysis thing that I'm trying to say. Once you're Thunder Wave in this game, your speed stat drops by 75%. That's how it's really always been up until Generation 7, where they changed that to by 50%. So Thunder Wave got nerfed recently, so I shouldn't be saying that as if it's something great, because it's always been doing that. But I guess since it changed, it's something to put into mind, as well as to put in perspective as well. This thing had soft boils, so it would constantly recover. People would literally use the special tank to weaken down, let's say, a Zapdos. People would use the thing to weaken down a Zapdos, especially a Gengar. Gengar couldn't really do much to it to begin with, since it is already immune to ghost typing, and its special defense stat is so huge that Gengar can't, he just can't do much. Like, the best option Gengar really had was to basically sleep this thing and then try to bring it down to the point where it's in range of dying to explosion. Otherwise, it couldn't. It just couldn't. But basically, that's the best way that, you know, Gengar's option had. Same with other mons like that. I know Alakazam as well. He would just, the only thing Alakazam honestly could do is try and pair the Chauncey, just go by luck, swap out, and get something like a Rhydon to decimate it. Like, if you don't have a Rhydon or a Golem, and you're going up with somebody who has a team with a Chauncey on it, dude, yeah, you're gonna be kind of in a problem there, because Chauncey just did not die. Not much to say about Chauncey outside of the fact that it didn't die. We already know Chauncey's move pool is pretty wide as well, so you can run things like Ice Beam, like Thunderbolt, like Fire Blast. Does it learn Fire Blast? It's Fire Blast, it does. Okay, I was just checking. But it can run a lot of moves like that. Psychic. What was it? Tri-Attack. Tri-Attack is physical in this game because it's normal, but you know what I mean. Water Gun. Oh, I think Water Gun was a TM in this game, that's why. But yeah, I know it's commonly ran with Ice Beam, Soft Boiled, T-Wave, and Thunderbolt, or Counter. Counter is really good because it actually has a way of fending off its threats being Golem and Rhydon, I know that actually can take a hit from one of those guys. So essentially, you take a hit, and you just fire back, and they die. They just die, dude. This thing's HP side is so high that I'm not even too sure if Rhydon or Golem really do one-shot it with Earthquake. I think it lives, I think, pretty comfortably. Pretty low, but comfortably, and it just knocks it out with counter. It's been a while since I played General NU, so I might just dial back in it again because it's really fun. But yeah, Chauncey, very fat Pokemon. Moving on now, though, to the next one, we're going to be having your boy Gengar. We actually just finished talking about Gengar when it came to the Gengar-Chauncey matchup. But Gengar, like I said again, another pretty threatening mon. The guy has base 110 speed, so the fact that his Thunderbolt crits are going to be everywhere, yeah, they happen. Ghost moves sucked in this game, so no one really ran Ghost moves, and Shadow Ball did not exist. And the only good viable Ghost moves in this game were none. Probably Confuse Ray being the most viable Ghost move, because the other Ghost moves were Lick and Nightshade. And the only Ghost types were the Gengar line, so you already know that nobody ran Haunter, nobody ran Ghastly, everybody ran Gengar, throwing a Ghost type in this generation. So the fact that this typing is minuscule helps it out because Ghost beats Ghost, and since no one runs Haunter or Ghastly, and it's one of the Ghost types, it makes it better for him. That's my number one. The only thing that can beat him pretty comfortably is another Gengar. But the thing is, though, is that other Gengar, who knows if will be running Psychic or not, because they don't commonly run Psychic, but it can learn the Psychic, you know? So I guess if another Gengar comes out and it has Psychic, yeah, but your special stat is so high to where you're pretty comfortable. The biggest threats to Gengar are, of course, another specially defensive mon. Like I said, Chauncey, Alakazam, if you believe it or not, is a special wall, a huge special wall in this generation. So Alakazam, things like Zapdos, things that have a high special stat will be giving Gengar a kind of a problem. He'd have ways to defeat them by using Explosion. Explosion is powerful in this game. Explosion, a lot of Pokemon first off learned it in this game. And number two, it is the best way for Pokemon like Gengar to defeat these Pokemon that they just can't do much to, because in this game, I know it's a physical move still, but I had a whopping 170 base total stat, and it basically cuts the foe's defense in half. So when that move is, like, for example, right, if a Gengar goes for Explosion on a Chauncey, while it's going for Explosion on the Chauncey, that Chauncey's defense will be cut in half as it uses the move. With a base total stat of 170, it could actually deal a pretty threatening amount of damage, regardless if it doesn't have a high amount of attack stat, 65. Not the world's worst, honestly, but it's still pretty poor. But that's enough to where he can actually fend off himself from those mons like Alakazam, like Chauncey. Zapdos just has good stats all around, but things like those mainly. Things that have that incredibly high special stat but are pretty poor when it comes to physical defense. He can handle those mons because of Explosion, but it's kind of like a last-ditched effort to where if you don't need your Gengar anymore, you are comfortable to use Explosion, you are safe to use Explosion, because no goddamn shit, you're killing yourself if you're using the goddamn move. But the most annoying thing about Gengar was sleep. Now, if a Pokemon went to sleep in this game, it was literally insane. Actually, if I actually look it up here, because I want to look it up not to sound insane, but I'm almost positive, right? I'm almost positive that if you put somebody to sleep in Generation 1, they just didn't wake up. Which, yeah, waking up from sleep took a full turn. There it is. So, that's the most unfortunate part. It takes an entire turn, which is very annoying. It means they get free damage or free setup or just anything at this point. Anything at this point. So, even a chance to get a crit. And it's better for Gengar to be so fast to put mons to sleep because of the fact that Gengar gets crits. We talked about that earlier with, or no, we didn't. I didn't mention that. Fun fact if you didn't know. Mons can crit faster, or they have a higher chance to crit by their base speed. So Gengar being one of the fastest mons in the metagame, he has an insane chance to crit. Not to mention as well, Hypnosis had an accuracy of 60 in that generation versus our now 60. So but it doesn't feel like 60, right? It doesn't feel like it, but it's still the same. Pretty crazy, right? It's just those moves would just land more. When I played in Gen 1 OU meta, it would just land more, dude. It would just land more. But Gengar, like I said again, pretty threatening mon when it came to the metagame. He's immune to normal typing, but in this game, there's no levitate. So things like Golem and Rhydon gave him a problem, dude. They were a problem to him. Alakazam is the best Gengar counter as well because it literally walls all of Gengar's moves outside of Explosion. But I'm pretty sure he lives one. He could just recover it off, so. And that to mention as well is that Psychic just, it's an immediate 2-hit KO. Psychic is an immediate 2-hit KO on the guy. Feels bad. And it's faster as well, so I don't even think you can get the option to even get off Explosion if he comes in safely on like a Thunderbolt, on a Mega Drain, something like that. Piss poor. But I'm almost positive though that Explosion does knock out. I could do the calcs. I could, but on top of my head, I don't know. So I don't think most people know, but you know what I mean. I'm pretty sure it still does one-shot it, but it's not like he'll get the opportunity to get it off. So Gengar coming in at number 4. Coming in now at number 3, we have Zapdos, the stupid, powerful, electric flying bird, stupid Pokemon. Oh my god, this mon's stats are so good. It has 90 in both HP and attack. It has 85 defense. That's the lowest stat, by the way, 85. A whopping 125 total stat and special, being special attack and defense, and 100 speed. So yeah, it's not as fast as things like Toros, like Gengar, like Alakazam, but it's fast enough to the point where it still has that high chance to crit, you know? 100 base speed really wasn't too bad when it came to this meta, because a lot of the mods as well, they're most commonly ran things like Jinx, Lapras, things like Snorlax, Slowbro, Executor, Rhydon, Golem were incredibly slow. So the fact that it could get a higher chance to get a crit on those mons really helped it out. But one reason why Zapdos is in the middle tier here and not being the top 2, if you're probably wondering, since its stats are so good, why double N, why? It's because this mon, its counters, it literally cannot do anything to. Like, I know most mons that we talked about, like Chauncey, having that option to just outbulk Pokemon, and as well as just play the hacks roll. Same thing with Gengar, play the hacks roll, outbulk, and also outspeed as well, high chances to get the crit, and as well those bulky mons he can use Explosion on. The one unfortunate thing for Zapdos is his limited move pool. Zapdos basically learned flying moves, electric moves, and normal moves. So when it came to defeating his counters like Rhydon and Golem, there isn't anything that he can do. The most common Zapdos set was T-Ball, Drill Peck, Thunder Wave, I think Agility was that last move. And they only win Agility so you can outspeed mons that are faster than him, like Gengar, like Alakazam, and just say fuck it to you being bulkier than me. I get a higher chance now to get a crit. Because Agility was so broken in this game. Because you get a higher chance to get a crit the faster you become. So, there's that. But it didn't really do anything to Rhydon or Golem. His flying moves are minuscule damage. I don't even know how much he did off the top of my head. But he did absolutely nothing to Rhydon and Golem. Since they're both ground rock Pokemon. Not to mention as well that flying moves obviously can't do anything either. They just can't. They literally cannot. So, when it came to that, dude, it was a problem. It was definitely a problem. Like, Rhydon is literally the best counter. Same thing with Golem to it. They're both typing. So, it ended up giving Zapdos a pretty hard time. The fact that they're both ground rock as well makes it to where Zapdos just can't even get away with using his flying moves. Because Zapdos can take on ground types by using his flying move. Things like Doug Trio, things like Marowak, but no one runs those mons. But it's even things like Nidoqueen and Nidoking, but it's like electric moves, buddy. They just don't work out. Otherwise, outside of his counters, he actually does really good when it comes to the meta. He does really good. He's really fast. He's a really good late-game sweeper. He's just insanely powerful. The fact that T-Bolt also has a chance as well to paralyze an opponent in this game, it's a 10% chance. It's just really good. Like, paralysis, any type of hacks in Generation 1 is just really good. I know it's good now, but, like, it's more BS back in the original games. So, like, there'd be times where you could literally just not move for, like, 4 straight turns. Yeah, that happens now, but, like, the higher chances to crit back in the day versus now, which makes that even much better. As well as coupled with agility being paralyzed, taking complete advantage of that, Zapdos would just wreak havoc, you know? He would destroy these water-type mons, like Lapras, Starmie, he would absolutely destroy them. So Zapdos, not much else to say about that, just Zapdos coming in as number 3. Now, guys, top 2, these guys are really powerful. We're going to be talking about number 2 now, which is Alakazam. We mentioned Alakazam a lot when it came to this, but Alakazam is insanely powerful when it comes to this meta. Alakazam was stupid bulky. Like, literally, the only reason why Chauncey is bulkier than Alakazam is only because of that HP stat. Alakazam's HP is piss poor of 55, dude. It's insanely piss poor. He's insanely frail. Outside of all of that, though, he is insanely fast, insanely bulky. Alakazam, fun fact, is actually a really good wall when it came to Generation 1. Funny, because he's insanely frail, and he's used as a revenge sweeper, kind of like a last-ditched effort killer. When it comes to this current generation, he's so frail. People use Alakazam nowadays as like a focus sash. Hey, I'm just going to sweep and clean up things, you know? Or try and knock out 3 mons before I die. Something like that. To whereas now, it's like, okay, I just basically outwall everything you want to do to me. LOL, Gengar, Starmie, Jolteon, Zapdos. He just laughs at all those mons. He just laughs at them. Now, sure, Zapdos is Drill Peck, so it actually could do pretty good against it, since Drill Peck is actually a physical move, Flying is still a physical move in Generation 1. Zapdos does not the worst compared to things like Starmie, Gengar. Gengar's got Explosion, so really Starmie, rip Starmie, dude. He just walls, basically, you get my point. He walls all of these specially offensive mons, so he does pretty good against them. Sure, they give them options, but otherwise, he does pretty good against them. He's just insanely dominant as well. He has things like Thunder Wave that he can use. He can set up screens like Reflect. His stab, Psychic being in this game is insanely powerful. He just shits all over Gengar. He literally shits all over Gengar, gives him a new one. And he can recover basically any type of damage that he gets. So things like Starmie versus him one-on-one, he just recover Thunder Wave, recover Psychic, Psychic, recover, Psychic, Psychic, recover. It's a rinse-repeat process like that to where he just outbulks everything, dude. Now, the only ways he actually can kill Alakazam is by his physical defense, number one, since it's really poor. Take advantage of his HP stat, so status inflicting it as well, since there is no abilities in this game. You can status inflict it, anything like that. And also, as well, he's so high up in his tier list because nothing really beats Alakazam, when I put it that way, you know? Sure, there are things that have that high physical attack stat, like Golem, like Rhydon, like Toros, but otherwise, he doesn't really have anything super effective against him. The only thing that was super effective in Alakazam in this game is bug typing. And bug typing is almost irrelevant when it came to this. The most common bug types, Pinsir and Scyther, they were hardly used. So I think people would only run them just to stop stally Alakazam teams, you know? I think that's literally it. When you have mons like Rhydon and Golem, they can't do much to them. They really cannot. You know what I mean? They just genuinely cannot. But to put it into perspective as well, Alakazam was also immune to the ghost typing. If you didn't know, psychic types were immune to ghost typing in here. So that's what I meant by I said Alakazam literally shits all over Gengar. Gengar, sure, he can learn any ghost typing moves, but that are good, I should say, but it doesn't matter. He's immune to ghost typing. They don't do anything to him, and he shits all over them. Especially Gengar, because he's the only ghost type. He's just really bulky. Like, there isn't much more to say, guys. He's really bulky. He takes advantage of hacks like Thunder Wave and stuff like that. He's just really bulky. I'm pretty sure he learns Amnesia as well, if I'm not mistaken, by level up. I don't know if he actually does or not. I'm pretty sure he does it, but part of me feel like he does. But Alakazam, like I said again, just really bulky. He could even Toxic Stall somebody. If you don't want to run Thunder Wave, you could just run Toxic Stall. Now the reason to run Thunder Wave though is just cause. You can get your slower monster to outspeed them. Things like Rhydon, like Golem, stuff like that. Executor, all that. So, I've talked about Rhydon and Golem a lot. You're probably wondering if they're number one. You'll find out. Now, guys, the undisputed king, the strongest mon, in my personal opinion, that I thought to be number one in this list is definitely Toros. I mentioned Toros a lot. I think Toros, in my opinion, Toros is the strongest mon when it came from the metagame of Generation 1, and here's why. Toros is so powerful. He's already so fast, unrivaled by hardly anybody's speed. Things like Persian would outspeed him, but nobody runs Persian. And Persian's bad, because it only has its speed stats. People run / Persian to try and get the crit. People also ran things like, I think Starmie is faster than it, if I'm not mistaken. Starmie, Jolteon, and I think Zapdos. Zapdos is 100, never mind. So it's Starmie and Jolteon were really the only things that are faster than it, and Alakazam, as well as Persian. Those 4 mons, the entire game faster than those 4 mons. So Toros is basically almost unrivaled when it comes to speed, because yeah, Alakazam is threatening to him, but do Alakazam want to come in on him? No. No, I don't think he does. I don't think he does. And he definitely can tank a Psychic, because his bulk is definitely respectable. Like, it's decent, you know? It's not anything too great, not anything too bad, but it's decent. Same with the HP stat of 75. His total special stat is 70. Oh no, but his defense is 95. His attack is 100, and his speed is 110. Now, here is the biggest reason why Toros is #1. He has an answer to everything. If you're sitting there thinking that Rhydon and Golem just hard stop him, he learned things like Blizzard. And Blizzard in this game has a 90 accuracy. So, good chance on trying to miss Blizzard. You're almost likely going to be landing that. It's quad. It's not quad. I always think that rock is weak to ice. Why isn't it? I don't know. Maybe it's because the sheets of ice up at the north and south poles. I don't know, dude. I don't know. But he is super effective against them. And when it comes to things like Rhydon and Golem, their special stat really isn't too great. Like, it's kind of piss poor, if anything. So that's why things like that kind of can get them. With Rhydon being 45, and if I'm not mistaken, Golem also being 55, actually. So Golem's a little bulkier. But it doesn't matter because he just shits a throat inside of them, dude, you know? Toros has options for everything, dude. These water types, Thunderbolt. Oh, that Executor and these ground types, Blizzard. Everything else, dude, normal is the strong. I'm telling you, normal, I think, in my own opinion, is the strongest offensive typing in the entire game because Steel doesn't exist. And that's why they made Steel Generation 2. Normal was too strong. And that's why they made Dark in Generation 2. Psychic, too strong. Not having any weakness outside of Bug. And Bug typing sucked dick for a long time. So, Toros being the undisputed king of the game. Killing everything. And in this game as well, like I already said, the faster you are, the higher chance you have to get a crit. Toros is immune to ghost typing, so that's one as well. And fighting typing also didn't exist. Another reason why Alakazam was dominant, because he had a few weaknesses. Same thing with Toros. The only weakness he has is fighting, and they are almost non-existent. Nobody runs Machamp. Nobody runs the Hitmons. That's it. And if I'm not mistaken, those are the only fighting types in this entire game. So that's it. Oh, there's Poliwrath and Primeape as well, but again, mons like those, no one really runs as well. Primeape isn't too bad. I've never ran a Primeape team before just so that I could beat Toros, but it doesn't matter because Scarf doesn't exist in this game. Toros is faster than every fighting type in this game. So all you have to do is if they switch in, Body Slam and then Hyper Beam. And fun fact, if you didn't know, Hyper Beam is insanely powerful in this game. Hyper Beam is one of those moves in this game to where if you break a sub, or if you one-shot them, or just kill them really with Hyper Beam on that same turn, there's no cooldown. You can constantly keep using Hyper Beam. And Toros is ran prominently best when it comes to being a revenge killer. He's already fast enough, but when things are basically weakened on someone's entire team, bring out Toros, clean everything up. He does so much damage to where if anybody is like 60% below, he just destroys. He just absolutely destroys. You want your mons at least full when taking out a Toros. If they're not full, because that's the best way to beat a Toros, is keep your mons healthy and you can beat the Toros. Chip down the Toros, or number 2 as well, paralyze him. A lot of mons, like Alakazam, like I mentioned, Zapdos, even run Thunder Wave just to weaken and cripple the Toros. Because they can't kill this nigga because he's too fast, dude. So they, worry upon slowing him down. Then he's beatable. He's still a threat when slowed down because he does a lot of damage. But really, slowing him down really is the best bet on how beating him. But guys, that's it. I know this video is a lot longer than from the most top 5s you see. But I ramble a lot, so hopefully you guys can bear with me on that. I just love Pokemon. If you guys enjoyed, sub a like, subscribe. You let me know your top 5 down in the comments down below. I'm pretty sure a lot of you are upset to not see Rhydon on here. Rhydon, I wanted to put in here because Rhydon does shit a brand new throat when it comes into Pokemon like Alakazam, things like Chauncey, Gengar, Zapdos. He takes on a lot of threatening mons like that. But when I looked at it, Starmie and Slowbro exist. They're kind of annoying to him because he doesn't really have much that he can do towards them. I mean, you could run a Thunderbolt Rhydon, but he has 45 special, so it's pretty bad. He's just special side. He's really weak when you have so many mons that abuse special stat. I didn't put him on there, and I felt like Chauncey's bulk kind of outweighs the power of Rhydon. I don't know. Maybe I should have put Rhydon on here. Who knows, guys? That's gonna be it though. Thank you for watching. I am NumbNexus. Goodbye.